I was living in a low-income housing apartment in Minnesota, and at the time my mum and I simply couldn't afford to have an actual internet provider. This meant I leached off of people in my building who had an unprotected wireless connection. Whenever their internet connections would go out, I would be forced to walk down to McDonald's in order to use the free Wi-Fi there. This had become a pretty common thing for me. On one of these internet droughts, I was standing about in the lobby of my apartment, about to leave, when the guy who lived next door to me, an older man named Joe, stops me before I go. He tells me that him and another one of his neighbours is going down to McDonald's for coffee, and that he'd buy me one if I went along with them. I figured, why not? I didn't really know much about Joe since I mainly kept myself to myself. Let me just describe Joe. He's hunchback with a beer gut, and his ZZ Top-esque beard was full of food crumbs that I can only assume were from a McBiscuit. But he seemed like a nice enough guy, so I went along. After a ride in his rickety truck through the Minnesota winter, I was happy to reach McDonald's. Free Wi-Fi at last. And if Joe held up to his word, a free McCoffee as well. I sit down and fire up the laptop to soak in that free Wi-Fi. Soon after, Joe comes back with our McCoffees. As soon as he sits down, he starts asking me in a raspy voice, "So, boy, ever heard of God's DNA?" I look up from the Windows loading screen and ask, what? I was totally baffled and thinking, great, stuck here with another fucking missionary. Damn it. He goes on to inform me that God's DNA is the molecules that hold the universe together. Not to mention, it's what makes men genetically superior to women. I sure as shit didn't hear that in physics class, so I blew him off, and when I got a chance, quietly ducked into another booth to browse the internet in peace. He didn't seem to notice, because afterwards a barrage of freaky beardy lumberjack dudes would come in and out of the McDonald's and talk to him for like 15 minutes at a time. I could only assume they were talking about God's DNA, because I did my best not to pay them any attention. But Joe and his gang of weirdos still creeped me out. I could tell that they kept looking over to stare at me when they thought I wasn't looking. Having enough of that weirdness for the night, I decided to duck out when he hobbled off to the bathroom, I assume only to take an epic McShit. I took my chance, folded up my laptop and headed out to brave the cold Minnesota winter on the way back home. I reckoned that having to put up with the elements was still preferable to being around a bunch of weird-looking lumberjack creeps. I was almost back to the apartment when I heard the truck, slowly rolling up and crunching the snow. I looked over my shoulder and saw Joe in his truck. Next to him was another one of those fucking bearded bums from McDonald's. I waved to them, but I got no response. Whatever, I thought. I went home for the night after that creepiness. But then after that, every time I went to McDonald's, either Joe or one of his weirdo lumberjack buddies would be there. I could practically feel them leering at me. They always appeared grungy and disheveled. Forced to go to McDonald's just to use the internet, I tried avoiding them as much as possible. It almost seemed as if they knew ahead of time that I was going to be there. Considering that they all had a relationship with Joe, I think it's very likely that they actually did. Eventually, someone broke into Joe's apartment and stole his bicycle, prompting him to move elsewhere. I learned a couple of things about Joe after that, such as he traded most of his food stamps every month for drugs, and he regularly told women in our apartment that he wanted to leave his body in spirit and ravish them in their sleep. Whatever that meant. After this point, I saw the McDonald's stalkers only sparingly, and then never again.
This happened about a year ago in my first semester of college. I went to art school in New York City, and my suite mates and I had a craving for fast food at around 12:30 a.m. We decided on the McDonald's down the street because we're classy as fuck. It was me, my suite mate Kat, and her boyfriend Tom. We order our food. Kat and I decide to split a shit ton of chicken nuggets and pick a table by the door. Tom and Kat are sitting next to each other, holding hands as couples do, and I'm sitting there being the awkward third wheel and gorging myself on nuggets. In walks a slightly disheveled gentleman who starts to wander aimlessly in the direction of the register. We think nothing of him. I watch as he goes to order his food, and I turn back to my friends to chat. Suddenly, Kat mutters, "Anna, behind you." I turn around and there's the slightly disheveled gentleman again. This time he's holding a flashlight. I turn back around to Kat and shrug, figuring it's just some harmless weirdo. I feel a tap on my shoulder, so I turn around again and the guy asks, The light isn't working in the men's room. Can one of you hold this flashlight while I use the toilet? Seriously? Kat, being the nicest and most outgoing person of the group, responds first. Maybe you should tell an employee that the lights don't work. I bet they could figure it out for you. I'll only be a minute, the guy mutters and holds the flashlight out to us. Could one of you just hold this while I pee? He insisted. Tom answered next, as I was determined to ignore the man. No, just go ask an employee to fix the lights. But I'll only be, the man began again, but I interrupted him with a firm fuck off. It was a weird situation, made only weirder when, as we were leaving, Kat said he never went into the bathroom in the first place. How would he know the lights didn't work?
So I work at a small McDonald's in an even smaller town in the south. I've had my encounters with some strange people and seen some fucked up things so far, and I'll probably write some more of my encounters on here. But I saw something today that I thought I would never see, and I was shocked at how many people didn't notice or didn't care what was taking place right in front of them. I was working behind the counter at around 7 PM, and we had lots of people in the lobby, a few children as well. I like kids, so I watched them play around in the lobby because they're really cute, but I got distracted by the large amount of customers we had to serve and ignored them for about 15 minutes. I looked back when I heard a man ask in a small voice, almost whispering, "So, how old are you?" I turned around to see this extremely tall guy with a shaved head and a red t-shirt talking to a little girl who looked about 5 or 6. He had a little boy around the same age on his shoulders who was giggling. They were beautiful children with blonde hair and blue eyes. I saw that they were happy and the guy seemed friendly, but something in my head was extremely worried. I had a huge suspicion, upon seeing these kids, that they were not his. What grown man would ask a little girl how old she is? And if he knew her, wouldn't he already know? Why would he care? But after this, he said something that made my heart sink. "Hey, you should come with me now. I have a little brother who's 6 too. Let's go play with him." He then began to walk to the exit with the boy on his shoulders and the little girl tagging along, and I immediately shot for the door to stop him, just as a lady with blonde hair came out of the bathroom shouting, "Hey, where are you going? Get over here!" The tall guy froze with eyes as big as saucers. He was fucking petrified. The lady then scooped up the little girl into her arms and reached for the boy as the tall guy lets him down, stammering, "Oh, I was just playing with your kids. They're really nice kids. I just like kids. I like kids." All at once with a nervous smile. The blonde lady then faked a smile back, but still had the eyes that clearly said, "Stay the fuck away from my children, you fucking creep." But her mouth ended up saying, "Oh well, I'm glad you had a nice time, but we really need to order now," and led her kids to the back of the restaurant. The tall guy then hurried out of the front exit, and the lady clutched her children close to her the entire time she was there, even in the booth. If I ever see that guy at work again, I will immediately call the cops on him. Who knows what could have happened to those kids if I wasn't looking, or their mother hadn't come out of the bathroom at that very second. I think it's awful that she left her kids unattended in a full restaurant lobby, but no one deserves to lose their children to a disgusting creep with a sick grin like that.
A friend finally convinced me to share this little story since she's always teasing me with it. I'm a 23-year-old male in Florida, fairly introverted, hardly ever get out of the house. This encounter happened a few months ago. It was about 12 a.m. and I was getting a bit stir-crazy and needed to get out and just chill with someone. So I texted a special lady friend of mine. We made plans to do our normal routine of hanging out at this nice secluded park. I went and picked her up. We drove to our spot and spent a couple hours just chatting about everything and anything. Then she got hungry, so we decided to hop in the car and drive down the road a bit to McDonald's. Hooray for 24/7 fast food. This is where things started getting weird. We arrived at McDonald's and went inside instead of the drive-thru. She ordered her food while I went to the restroom to wash my hands. I'm a bit of a neat freak. I really wish I hadn't gone into the restroom that night. As soon as I walked into the restroom, I saw this guy standing at one of those heater dryer things. Alright, not too weird. But then I noticed that he was kind of hunched over it and wasn't moving. Whatever, I ignore him. I wash my hands and realize that he's standing at the only dryer in the place. The damn paper towels are also empty. so I awkwardly try to ask the guy if he was done using the dryer. He didn't respond. Thoroughly creeped out, I just walk out and dry my hands on my shirt. We get out of the restroom and find my friend, and we sit down at a table to eat. Maybe 20 minutes go by and we're headed back out to the car to go back to our spot. My friend has to use the restroom, so I figure I might as well also. I mean, surely that guy has got to be gone by now, right? Wrong. That guy is still standing at the dryer, mumbling something to himself now. I go into a stall and take a leak, and I can hear him hitting the button on the dryer over and over again. I wash my hands again and don't even attempt to get at the dryer, but then the guy moves as I'm trying to walk past him. He steps back right in my path and just looks at me. I notice he's around my age. He just stares at me and says, "Excuse me." Okay. I put my head down, quickly say pardon me, and rush around him to get out of the bathroom. 30 seconds later, as I'm waiting for my friend to get out of the ladies' restroom, the guy walks out. He just sits down at a table near me and is staring straight at me. My friend walks out and notices the creep just eyeballing me. She jokingly asks, "Make a new friend in there?" I just shake my head at her and try to lead her out to the car without making it obvious I'm wanting to run from the guy. Then he does the weirdest thing. He just starts cackling, like a madman. I mean, straight up Joker laugh. I'm thinking to myself, oh shit, crazy druggy dude is gonna do something bad. Then he just stops suddenly, looks down at my feet, and says, "Nice shoes, Osiris." Osiris is a brand of shoe, by the way. I manage to utter, thanks, and quickly walk away out to the car. As my friend and I are getting into the car, we notice the guy staring at me from inside McDonald's. Just straight eyeballing me, death stare. Then he stands up and starts booking it towards us. He wasn't running, but he was like speed walking. He bursts through both doors of the McDonald's and starts coming right at us, and now he looks angry. I pulled out of the parking lot so fast, it's a damn good thing the roads were empty. My friend and I went back to our spot and hung out some more. Every car that we saw in the distance, I kept freaking out, expecting it to be the weird guy following us. My friend just teased me about it the entire night and still teases me about it to this day, about how I made friends with the creeper in the bathroom who liked my shoes.
So this happened about a year ago, and it's still pretty freaky. For context, my friend and I are both 22 and female. My friend Anna and I were bored one weekend, and we decided to go to a popular beach to take some pictures and just mess around. We took some photos, and we had a really lovely day. On the way back we were starving, so we decided to stop at the McDonald's in the beach town. This town is like really famous and nice. All the celebrities live there, and it's really beautiful. There's a super famous restaurant right off the highway on the beach that's known. This McDonald's was directly across the street from that restaurant. Since so many famous people go to this restaurant, and it's on a pretty busy road, most of them have drivers that usually take them, usually in big black Escalades. The drivers would usually hang out in the parking lot of that McDonald's while their bosses ate across the street. Anna and I didn't know this at the time, we just wanted a McFlurry. So we go to McDonald's, and right when we get out of the car, she starts acting really weird. She triple checks the car doors are locked and grabs her fancy camera to bring inside. I ask, "What's up?" And she says, there's a group of guys, the drivers, standing in front of McDonald's smoking and staring at us. And it was giving her the creeps. I'm a pretty chill and trusting person, so I don't think much of it. It's a busy place in a super nice town. I'm not worried. We go in, and there's a few other people in there about our age. We get our food, sit at the table to eat. One of the drivers comes in, sits a few booths down, with his back against the wall, right where he can see us. My back is to him, but Anna really gets creeped out and wants to leave. This guy isn't eating nor anything. He's just staring at us. Again, this is a pretty crowded McDonald's in one of the nicest towns in Southern California, so I feel pretty safe. Living in South Central, yeah, you get used to the odd creep. Still, Anna was freaked out, so I agreed to go. I just have to run to the bathroom first. It was one of those McDonald's where the counter and the main dining room were in one big room, and then there was this sort of hallway off to the side of the counter, with more seating and the bathroom at the end, way in the back. There was also a door going outside right next to the bathrooms. The bathroom has only 2 stalls. I just walked into the first stall, not really paying attention to whether or not anyone else was in there. So I'm in there, I'm doing my thing, and then I hear the door open and I hear Anna call my name. At this point, I'm very confused, and she's supposed to be watching our stuff, and I'm like, yeah, what's up? She asks, are you okay? Yeah, just peeing, I reply. She was like, oh, okay, and just stands there in the doorway. After a second, I hear her leave, and I'm thinking, that's very weird. So I walk out of the bathroom and see her waiting by the door with all of her stuff in her hands. I ask her what's going on and why she came in the bathroom. And she looks at me really panicky and is like, we need to leave right now. At this point, I'm not afraid, I'm just confused. We rush out to the car, and she starts telling me what happened. Turns out, when I walked into the bathroom, that creepy driver followed me in there after a little while. I don't remember hearing him come in, but maybe I just assumed someone else had been in there the whole time and was just leaving. Or someone had come back just to check their makeup or something. I'll be honest, I really wasn't paying attention. I know for sure I wasn't aware that anyone entered the stall next to me because he didn't close the stall door when he came in. She was on her phone, so she didn't see him follow me either. A young guy noticed it and went up to my friend asking if we knew the driver. Frantic, she told him that we did not and ran to check on me. He was in the stall next to me with the stall door open. It was a large handicap stall. Not making a sound, she came in and didn't see him. So she called my name just to make sure I was alive, and he rushed out. She was in shock and didn't know what to do other than gather our things and prepare to run. When we went to the car, he was sitting in his big black car with the tinted windows next to us, still staring. We sped off, and when I got the story, I called McDonald's to let them know what had happened. They didn't really care. And then we called the non-emergency sheriff line to report it as well, which was closed. Thank you, Malibu, for nothing. Eventually, my mum went full mama bear and threatened to blast it all over social media if they didn't take my report seriously. She managed to get a hold of someone in corporate there. They checked their cameras and saw the guy follow me in. The police... A family friend who used to be a cop told us that this isn't uncommon. A lot of the time, they just film the girl in the stall, which is obviously creepy but not violent. In this case, the red flag is that he didn't close the stall door, and I never saw anything, which made us all think he was waiting to catch me off guard when I turned to wash my hands. Scary no matter what. Always be aware of your surroundings and trust your gut, or in my case, your friends.